Business with a servant's heart. Welcome to the podcast. Inspiration, motivation takes. Listen to the podcast. We're all about to talk about life. Our guests will share their life story. We want you to success in life and business. We're ready and we will start shortly. We're gonna talk about life. We're going to speak on business. You're gonna shine bright. We are going to witness. Business with a servant's heart. With hosts Steve, Ramon, and Ray. Inspiration, education talks. Listen to the podcast.
Welcome, everyone, to Doing Business with a Servant's Heart podcast. I'm your host, Steve Ramon. I'm so fired up to have you join us today. Got to spend 5-10 minutes with the guest and get your pads and papers out. I know I say that all the time, but I've already got notes and we haven't even started the show yet. Now, we dedicated this podcast exploring the idea of servant heart, how you can bring that in your business and life. But what happens when you do that? Your impact and difference you make for people. Small, medium, large, doesn't matter. How'd you like to impact people every day? I get to do it, and you can as well. We're also bringing incredible guests who are going to motivate you, inspire you, and educate you with this mindset, which my guest was talking about before the show, of that servant heart, of bringing value to people. Again, making that impact and changing people's lives. Here's your homework today, audience. Reach out to me. Tell me that you've done this. Think about how you're going to serve yourself and others today and what impact you create today. And the today is the key word there. Just do it today. Small, medium, large. Just go out and say somebody's name, whatever it may be, and tell me what you did and send me an email. I'd love to hear it. Thank my incredible sponsor, Pantheon. Join the community of high-income entrepreneurs and business leaders who have a world-changing thought leader platform to help grow your business, but also impact and make a difference in the world. So for more information on that, reach out to me and I'll get that to you. So we're going to talk about trust. We're going to talk about value and serving and how that can really impact your life and impact others. Let's welcome our guest, Chip. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Why is trust so important?
It's the foundation to all relationships. If no trust, no relationship. It goes as basic as driving down the road on a 2-lane road. You trust that the person coming the other way is going to stay in his lane. It's that basic, and then all the way to what we talked about earlier. What's happened in our society is trust is eroded. Study after study. I mentioned the hospitals and the medical system went from being trusted 8% of the time to 39% of the time. And you used to walk into a building and or meet somebody and you trusted that they had the right motive and they were going to do the right thing, especially our politicians. They would put country first and they would do the right thing for the long term. And unfortunately, that's eroded. And there's an old saying that I use in business: the speed of leader, speed of the group. And we've gone through several. This hasn't started the last generation or iteration of presidents. It's gone on for a number of presidents that they say one thing but do another, and that erodes trust. And in fact, my definition of integrity is doing what you say you're going to do when you say you're going to do it, and if you can't, notify the person in a timely manner so that they can respond accordingly.
So I asked this question because it's a selfish one, because Monday I was mentoring some business ladies and the one lady goes, I'm afraid to start a business because I don't trust. What do you tell somebody? How do you answer that? She goes, I'm afraid to trust people.
I would say that building a network of people you do trust. I'm very fortunate through my years at Vistage, Sears. I keep in touch with my high school grad friends, some college friends. I'm part of several groups, and it's all based on trust. So you have to start meeting people, get out there. You can't steal second standing on first. And so you have to go out and start meeting people and find out people who want to be part of your tribe that you trust, and then that will carry you. You can't do it by yourself. The lady who's afraid of going out there, she's probably doesn't have a good peer group. And She needs to develop that. And,
Yeah.
and it starts by taking a risk. You can't build trust without taking a risk.
Very important, especially for entrepreneurs. All you
Yeah.
out there, me and you, we've all taken risks. Some failed, some succeeded. Move
And
on.
we learn more in failure than we did in success.
Yeah, thank you for saying that. That's a great way, because I talk about your network's your net worth. Now I can say your network is your trust worth.
Well, add this to it. You become the average of the 10 people you hang out with. And if you're hanging out with losers, guess what? You can't be a winner. It's impossible. I had a longtime CEO friend, these people become friends, who was an attorney, successful attorney, but decided to go into the family business. It was a big retail chain. And when he got there, they had 25 stores. When we merged with another company, he had 750 stores. And he said he was living in a town. He was hanging out with people that weren't motivated. I mean, they were all successful, but they were just kind of complacent. And he started hanging out with entrepreneurs who've built these really huge, successful companies. And it changed his whole behavioral pattern. And he hit the ball over the fence. And that's because he was hanging out with people who were building their businesses. He joined my Vistage group and had gone to the Harvard Business School and said he learned more in Vistage than he did in Harvard. Because once again, as I mentioned earlier, real bullets, real blood, real risk, not case studies.
You must be a baseball fan. You've already talked about you can't steal second, stand on first, and you hit a home run. So
All right. Well, I'm a Dodger fan. I grew up in Southern California, so you're probably a Giants fan. So we've
you,
had a lot of rivalry games.
yes, and it's great rivalries, and it's awesome,
Yeah.
and you can still be friends and not be happy
Yeah.
when we're losing. So it's great. All this leads to your unity and service. That's why you're a great guest for this show. Doing business with the servant side. Talk about unity and service, the mission and goal.
Well, the mission of Unity Service is to break down barriers. If you work together on a project for the community or for the nation that's going to make it better, and you are left or right, it doesn't matter. You begin to break down the barriers and dissolve these divisions. Most of them are created by the media, and most of them are created by uh, politicians. They use to divide us and get their power. And by breaking down those divisions, we can then work together and build trust. And we have the government we deserve. We're the ones that voted them in. So we can start asking our politicians to have higher standards and be reliable. But it starts with working together in your community, volunteer, um, go Habitat to Humanity. But my big ask, and I think if we don't do it as a country, we're in serious trouble, is that when you turn 18, you serve the country for a year. You go work on CCC type projects where if you look at, we just spent 5 years circling the United States in the RV, went to a lot of national parks, and national park after national park, the CCC or WPA had built those parks. Those people work together. And there's some theory that by those people working together during the Depression up to World War II, that helped us win because we had broken down all those barriers. Well, we have to do that again. Is it Lincoln said, "A house divided cannot stand." If we become more and more divided, which is the trend, we're going to dissolve. And I know it's, oh yeah, right. No, we had a civil war. Yes, nothing lasts forever. And in my book, Unity and Service, I talk about the life cycles of democracy. And I recommend somebody reading that because it really gives you the idea of where we are. You can almost put an X mark on the cycle. And it's not good. Ernest Hemingway wrote a book, and one of the dialogues was the one character asked the other, "How did you go bankrupt? Gradually, then all at once." That's the sun also rises. And how did you lose a company? I mentioned earlier during our conversation about Montgomery Ward's going away. How did Montgomery Ward's lose the market? Gradually, then all at once. How did my alma mater Sears go broke? Gradually, then all at once. And countries are the same way. 60 countries have required military service. All
Hmm.
I'm asking for is 1 year of service to the country. And if you're from San Jose, you come to St. Pete. If you're from Biloxi, you go to New York, and you work with people different than you. I mean, I spent a lot of time in the West Coast, and a friend of mine had a map. It had New York, California, and this little space in between, blank. And too many people think that way. The heartland. Fortunately, I ended up living in the Midwest for a number of years, and great people, fabulous people. And we need to work together to break down that mental barrier. So many times people do what they call stacking. And if I know you voted for Kamala, I have this whole set of things that you are, which aren't true. And if you know I voted for Trump, you'd think I had all these things that aren't true. We make stuff up. And by working together, by rebuilding the national parks, by building homes for the homeless, um, with people different than you, when we go back into the world, we'll have dissolved much of the barriers, and we can start talking about how do we move forward as a country rather than how we're different. Right now, if you think about all the energy, I listen to all sides, all the different news broadcasts, and you think they were talking about a different country, um, and we're allowing that to happen. So in my book, I also talk about how you should hold the media accountable and hold your politicians accountable.
I love your thought on the military because I've interviewed probably 100 military veterans, and I tell them all, and I tell people all the time, if I had a company today and I needed staff, 50% would be military.
Yeah.
Discipline, resilience, the respect, all that stuff that people knows. And I love that you said that because I think kids are missing that these days.
Right. And I think I don't propose a military program because I think that would be hard to sell, but going and serving the country, going through like a month-long boot camp, no cell phones during the day, break the apron strings with mom, be an adult. I don't know if you know this or not, but 75% of the kids that are military age today don't qualify because of obesity, because of they've had drugs, because of other reasons. That's scary to me.
Well, that's scary too. I'm going to write that down because that's scary for us as a military. If something big happened, what do we do? We don't have the
As a
staff.
country, as a
Country,
country,
yeah, yeah.
yeah. And if you think about, what Roosevelt did with the CCC, those people are already used to working together. They were used to trusting each other. There's a great article about it's Raymond Burr, like three actors. I can't remember all three of them that worked in the CCC, and they went to war, but they had the discipline. They knew how to work.
The audience, what does CCC stand for? For the people, probably the younger people that don't know.
Civilian Conservation Corps. It was established in the 30s when unemployment was in the 20s, and FDR established it, and it became a very important part for a lot of people. I know a lot of families, talking to the kids that were kids then, they're now in their 80s. Dad would come home with a check from the CCC, and that's what they lived on.
Yeah, it's powerful. Community and unity and service. How does that bring it all together?
Whether we like it or not, we're in a community because we exist. And the community is either functional or dysfunctional because of us and how we interact. So by serving each other, if you think about how our whole economy works, it's all us serving each other. I go out and build a program or build a company, and I hire people, and those dollars go out into their families, and they're able to buy services and goods from other areas, and I'm able, by having profit, to be able to build the company even further and then go out and buy a house and eat and feed my kids. But it's all about serving each other. So it's an exchange of value. And a healthy community, there's a real exchange. If you think, why do tribes exist? Tribes first started out because They needed self-defense. They needed to gather together. If you weren't in a tribe and a saber-toothed tiger thought you'd be a good dinner, you're gone. But if you're in a tribe, you could defend each other, and you would live better because you're in a tribe, and you would work. And if you didn't work in a tribe, many tribes would send you out the door. They didn't have doors then; they'd send you out to the forest. But we all have to contribute, and we all have a different gift to contribute.
Mentioned
So
value
that's
a number of
community
times.
and unity and service, following the
The book,
formula.
yeah.
We can start breaking down those barriers and get back to serving each other and survive. I mean, ultimately, the democracy is a really ugly form of government, but it's better than all the rest. As Winston Churchill said, quoting Winston Churchill. And serving each other will build that community, will build our strength, and it'll be better for everybody. I loved what we talked about earlier when you talked about helping others, that wherever you go, you try and help somebody. And I have a chapter in there about breaking down barriers. We have dehumanized each other. It's easy to not open the door for somebody if they're not human. It's easy to not validate somebody because we don't see them as human. But all of us need validation. That's what you do when you help other people. You validate their value as a human. You validate them as a human. And so open the door for somebody. Smile at them. Say hello. How's your day going? I work on that a lot. Or driving. I have a poem about driving on the 405 in LA and about, let somebody in. They want to get home and hear the Dodger game just as bad as I do. And so it's just be kind. And we've gone through this whole discussion in our country about microaggressions, which I find hilarious. What I'm asking for is micro validations of the humanness of all of us.
Validation is important because people want to be seen. And that's what you're saying.
Yeah.
I tell people all the time, how do I serve? When you go to the grocery store, say the clerk's name. Say, hey, Tony, thanks for bagging my bag or groceries.
Yeah,
as simple as that is unity and service, right?
Yeah. And it's hilarious. I open the door for people all the time. And how many people just grunt and walk through or don't even say anything? It's like, this is really sad.
Or look at you like you're weird or something. It's so diverse of all this. It's crazy to me, but we're going to change it one way or the other. We're going to make a difference.
One human at a time.
Yeah.
Steve, one human at a time.
What's something a piece of advice you'd give somebody going, hearing this, Chip, going, unity and service, where do I start?
I think you start with the micro validations and helping others when you can, and you will feel better. If you help somebody else through a door, carry you see an older person, you carry their groceries, you just serve in some way, you'll like yourself better and they will feel validated. And so let's call it micro validations instead of microaggressions.
Yeah, that's so well said, because it does feel good. I know we've all talked about before. When you serve somebody and you get that email or that comment, or somebody comes to you, hey, somebody was saying, Steve, thank you. That was great what you did for them. We don't do it for that, but that is the ROI. I don't want to use that word, but it is that return on investment, right?
Yeah, I mentioned to you earlier about walking out of a Vistage meeting, saying I can't believe they pay me to do this, because there was so much given and there was so much positive energy in the room, and people walked out feeling much better than they did when they walked in and having a much better direction. I mean, we took Checkers drive-ins went public, discount auto parts went public while they were in my group. We saved a couple companies that they came in and said we're going broke, and we all worked together and got them financing, or told them how to talk to the bank. One guy came in and said, they're not going to cover my payroll. Well, and he had borrowed a lot of money, and he said, well, just go to the bank and hand them the keys. I went to the bank, handed them the keys, and said, oh, no, we're not going to foreclose. We'll work with you.
Interesting. That's a simple process.
Yeah.
When you mentor people, what's one thing that you look for?
Well, I only will mentor people that are trying to grow um, in whatever field they're in. I can't, not even God can steer a parked car. So I only work with people that are truly trying to grow. And I've fired um, customers, uh, people I was helping because they weren't growing and they weren't taking action. So yeah, I love people that are trying to accomplish something of value, be it build a company or build a nonprofit or add value to the community. And unlike some people, I listen to what they want and try and help them do it their way. And there'll be times I'll meet somebody and say, well, you should really do this, this, or this in my head, but I don't. I say, what do you want? It's 5 years from now. What do you want to have accomplished? And what do you have to do between now and then to accomplish it? And what's number one? What's number two? What's number three? But it's their idea. If I give them an answer, it's my answer. If I help them come to their answer, it's their answer and they own it, and then we're likely to execute on it.
I love that because I tell people, hey, here's some piece of advice. Love what you're doing. I use the spaghetti on the wall. I'm Italian. If it sticks
Right.
for you, great. If it doesn't, move on. We're still going to be friends.
Yeah.
I'm still here for
Right.
you.
Right.
It's yeah. People telling people what to do is a big part of this world nowadays. I don't like that. I'm not a fan.
How to think, how to talk, what to say.
Yeah, it's people are making money doing that, and it is what it is. And I'm not complaining. But the unity and service, I just love that. We're coming to the end here. When you think of a servant leader or servant mentor, we can use either one of those words. What does it look like to you?
Well, the servant mentor, servant leader, it's about the team and it's about the mission and it's being willing to do anything that you ask anybody else to do. And it's being in the fight with them. It's not sitting in the corner office and telling people what to do. It's being out in the field. If you go back to Sam Walton in the early days of Walmart, when he was kicking every other retailer's butt, he would go to store. He flew in his little airplane and show up and be a cheerleader in the store. And he was out in front, leading. Versus my days at Sears, the chairman of the board was, in the corner office, um, telling people what to do. And when he'd go to the store, this is a great story. When he'd go to the store, they would know a month or 2 months in advance that he was coming. And there was this Chippendale dining room set that he liked. Nobody bought them. So there was one Chippendale dining set that got moved around the country. So when he'd come into the furniture department, oh, my wife likes that. I mean, it's that kind of mentality. Or they'd clean up the store when he was coming. Sam would show up and surprise, I'm here.
Yeah. Yeah. I love
Now,
that story. That's powerful. Yeah, because I'm thinking the image that came in my head when you talk about corner office, the guy and the manager's like screaming, Steve Ramona, get over here. You got to talk about your sales. That's the image. That's so funny when you said that. And it happens. I know people I talk to, you probably do too, that work 8 to 5 jobs and they're screamed at all the time. It's not going to last. It just won't. It's just, we're human.
and you were talking about the ladies earlier today about taking action. You have to have the courage to leave the job, as much courage as it does to start a new one. But you shouldn't allow yourself to be run down or mistreated for your own good and your own mental health and physical health. And
Thank you.
we are in charge of our life.
I'm glad you said that because that's the other component of serving and serving yourself. Don't stay in a job you don't like. You're not treated well. I know you got to pay bills and stuff, but at least look for another job while you're there so you can make that transition and go, hey, you don't need to stay there. No, I love that because I think too many people stay in a job because they're afraid they can't get another.
Was it Thoreau said most people live lives of quiet desperation?
Yeah.
Act. Get off your butt. Nobody's going to say. I coached the first CEOs of a great nonprofit that had wonderful results with helping troubled kids. And the third CEO he used to say, nobody's going to save your ass but your ass. And that's true. Nobody's
Yeah.
going to come to rescue the United States. We have to do it.
That's why a mirror looks back at you. You got to look at that mirror. Be aware.
Yeah.
It's, man, we could go much longer, but we're going to close it here. I've got a great question for you. I like to ask my guests. Go ahead. You have something to say?
No, go ahead.
Okay. Because I don't want to miss anything you say, because you told me so many golden nuggets today. Audience, I hope you've written down. I've got a whole note of pages that I'm going to borrow like crazy. So I've got a reservation at a restaurant for you in Colorado, let's say. Table of 4. You're going to sit in the one chair. In the 3 empty chairs, who would you like to invite, whether dead or alive? And what food would you order for the table?
So people that I would like: Thomas Jefferson, Abraham Lincoln, and George Washington. And I would order a family meal, since when they grew up, beef was okay. So I'd order a big sirloin steak that had to be sliced, and really great salad and baked potatoes.
That's my traditional meal. So I think I'm going to join you. I have to bring a 5th chair, and that's one. Plus, I'd love to listen to those guys. Holy mackerel. What a conversation that's going to be. Thank you again. You are a blessing. What you're doing, Unity and Service, is I'm 1,000% behind it. Thank you for sharing your knowledge and your golden nuggets. I'm going to reach out to you in a few months. I want to bring you back because there's much more we can talk about if you're willing. Yeah, I'm kind of putting you on the spot.
I'd be honored. And seriously,
thank you.
Even though you're a Giants fan, I'd be honored.
We'll put that to the side right now. We'll just talk business and life right now. So again, name of the book, and where can they get the book?
Unity and Service, A Pathway to Responsible Citizenship by Chip Webster. It's on Amazon. And I also have a website, unityandservice.org, where we have some information that is relevant. And if you want to reach out to me, it's chip@unityandservice.org. So I'm happy to talk to anybody and help anybody in any way I can.
Thank you again. That's awesome. Reach out to them and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Here's why. What Chip talked about for the last 20, 25 minutes is powerful. In Unity and Service, I'm going to use his book and his what he's doing. That's what podcasts are. You can take this link and go, I'm going to give it to my friend who is struggling. And they listen to Chip. I'm not struggling, but you know what? I learned so much. It changed my life today. How would you like to impact other people's lives? That's why you subscribe to podcasts. Mine or somebody else's, doesn't matter. Those links could be great gifts to give to people and really make that difference, to really serve them. Well, me and Chip want to thank all of you for watching or listening to this podcast, and we'll see you all in the next episode of Doing Business with a Servant's Heart. Have a great day, everyone.
Thanks, Steve. You too.